Good morning, second graders. Today I'm going to read you a story called Oscar's Enormous Purr by Jean Richardson Rondeau. Oscar's Enormous Purr. Have you ever heard a kitten purr? What did it sound like? Did it sound like this? Or did it sound like this? Yip, yip, yow! Or did it sound like this? My next question for you before we start this story is, can an animal be a hero? Can an animal help humans? How can an animal help a human being? Can they? Is it possible? Well, here are a few examples of how an animal can be a hero. I think you're going to find in our story today of Oscar's enormous purr that Oscar becomes a hero. Now the title, Oscar's Enormous Purr, the word enormous, what does that mean? Does it mean little, teeny, tiny? Or does it mean huge, enormous, big, monstrous? I think it means big. Well, our story begins when Oscar was a kitten. He had long whiskers and a fluffy tail and a very loud purr. Brrr. Every time Oscar purred, people smiled and said, "Such a loud purr for such a small kitten." Then Oscar grew up. He became a big cat with very long whiskers and a huge tail and a purr that was enormous. Oscar purred when he ate and dishes fell off the table. He purred when he played, and pictures fell off the walls. He purred when he fell asleep, and everyone else fell out of bed. Finally, Oscar's family yelled, "Put Oscar outside!" Oscar hated it outside. He was lonely out there. He decided to find a friend who liked his purr. He walked down the street and into the grocery store. The grocer said, "What a nice kitten. I could use you to catch mice." I have a quick question for you. How does Oscar's family feel about his enormous purr? Do they like it? Are they bothered by it? I think you're right. They don't like it at all. It's too loud and it bothers them. Oscar finally thought he had found a friend in the grocery store. He started to purr. Brrr. The walls shook. Cans fell off the shelves. Apples rolled onto the floor. The grocer yelled, "Get that cat out of here!" Oscar had to go outside again. He still hated it outside. He was lonely out there. So he decided to find some animal friends. He was sure they would like his purr. Brrr. He went into the woods and sat down by a stream. He saw animals everywhere. Friends, he thought. And he started to, you got it, purr. Brrr. But the birds flew away. The deer ran off. The fish swam upstream. Now the woods were empty, and Oscar was alone again. He was getting very hungry, so he decided to go home. He walked back to his house and sat down by the door. He waited and waited, but nobody seemed to notice him. Then he saw a stranger climb out of the window. The stranger wore a mask and carried a big bag. Oscar said, "Meow." The stranger said, "Hush, kitty." Oscar thought the stranger might be a friend, and he started to purr. Brrr. The ground shook. The neighbors looked out the window. And someone finally shouted, "Thief! Call the police!" Oscar didn't understand, and he kept on purring. Brrr. When the police drove up, the stranger tried to hide in the bushes, but they found him anyway and took him away. Oscar was a hero. When Oscar's family came home and heard what he'd done, they hugged and hugged him. All the neighbors cheered. Oscar felt so good that he purred louder than ever. Brrr. But this time, no one complained. Now I have a couple of questions for you. Where was Oscar's family when the thief came into the house? So the thief came into the house, but where was the family? How do you know where they were? Now I would like you to tell a friend, someone sitting right next to you, what was this story about? Start at the beginning and tell the main parts of the story, the most important things, and then tell what happened at the end.